Hi, Board Member Garrett. Can you test your microphone and camera real quick for us, please?
I thought my camera was working.
There you go. We can see you. Great. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can't see you, but I'll try.
Oh, yeah. So staff, the host and the recording secretary don't have their cameras on.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. Okay.
So am I the first person?
No, there are a few other board members already on.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thanks. Mm-hmm.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. And it looks like you got your video and audio already working. Thank you very much. We'll be starting here shortly. Chair Muser, just so you are aware, we are still awaiting one board member.
Okay, thank you. Could there be any confusion with the start time with that board member?
We've sent emails and we've contacted them by phone, so hopefully they'll be joining soon.
Yeah, we also posted a notice saying that we'd be starting at 2:30. So even if he had logged on at 2:30, he would have seen that. So we'll just give him maybe another couple minutes, and we've got a quorum, so we can go ahead and start.
Actually, before we do start, we're getting notification that we are not broadcasting right now. So I'm going to check with our media team and make sure everything's running before we start.
Thanks. Keep us updated.
Will do. Thank you. 1 second. All right, thank you, everybody. We are live now. Everything seems to be working. So we're able to start when you are. We are waiting for board member Gale, but we do have a quorum.
I'm not getting any response from board member Gale, so I'm going to say let's go ahead and start the meeting, and hopefully he'll join in.
All right, board members, if you can all start your cameras. And Chair Muser, feel free to start whenever you're ready.
It doesn't want to let me start my video. It says unable to start, you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Should be good now.
There we go. Let's see. Shall we begin?
One moment. Board member Garrett, are you able to start your camera? Board member Garrett, are you able to hear me? We need you to turn on your camera. Well, Chair Muser, we still do have a quorum, so if you want to proceed at your leisure.
Okay, well, welcome all to the world of Zoom board meetings, and we'll get through it. So some of you might be more experienced at this than others, but we'll all manage. So I'd like to call the meeting to order for the City of Santa Rosa Cultural Heritage Board. I have a couple of statements that I'll read. Right back. Due to the provisions of the governor's executive order in 2520 and in 2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act and the order of the health officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the Cultural Heritage Board will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom webinar. Board members and staff are participating from remote locations and or practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak during item 4 public comment or during a public hearing item will be able to do so by raising their hand and will be given the ability to address the commission. At this time, I'd like to ask for a roll call.
Let the record reflect that all board members are present except Commissioner Gale and Board Member Gale and Board Member Fennell has rejoined the meeting. So only Board Member Gale is absent at this time.
Okay. Is that okay? Okay. The next item of business is approval of previous minutes. I don't believe we have any minutes that need to be approved. It's been kind of a while since we've had a meeting. Am I correct with that?
That is correct. We do not have any minutes needing approval.
Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up public comments. This is a time when a person may address matters not listed on the agenda, but which are within the subject matter of the jurisdiction. The public may comment on agenda items when the item is called. So if you want to comment, if you're a member of the public listening in now and you want to call on an item, that is going to be on the agenda later, just hold your comment. You'll get an opportunity. And this is for non-agenda items. We will now open public comment for any item not included in this meeting's agenda. If you wish to make a comment via Zoom, please select the raise your hand button. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Each speaker has 3 minutes. A countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. Recording Secretary, do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Chairman. Sir, no one is raising their hands at this time. And I'll let you know that we have 3 members of the public currently in attendance.
Okay, let's give a couple more minutes here for technology reasons.
And while we did, I did want to fix, I misspoke. Currently, Gail and Garrett are both absent, but we've heard from Garrett. She's having computer issues. We'll hopefully be on shortly, and I'll adjust the roll call when she arrives.
Okay. Okay, close public comment. Saying no public comment. Okay, at this time, we're going to move into board business. I will read our statement of purpose. The Cultural Heritage Board shall consider the following matters, standards, guidelines, and criteria to the extent applicable in determining whether to grant or deny a permit, whether the proposed change is consistent or incompatible with the architectural period of the building, whether the proposed change is compatible with any adjacent or nearby landmark structures or preservation district structures, whether the colors, texture, materials, fenestration, decorative features, and details proposed are consistent with the period and or are compatible with adjacent structures, whether a proposed change destroys or adversely affects an important architectural feature or features. The Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings. Such other matters, criteria, and standards as may be adopted by resolution by the Cultural Heritage Board. Okay. Before I ask for board member reports, I think I'm going to jump into introducing our new board members. We do have actually four new board members, and I'd like to give them an opportunity to tell us and the public a little bit about themselves and why they're interested in being on the Cultural Heritage Board, any thoughts that they might have. So in no particular order, I'm actually going to ask all of our board members to do this, since that way it'll give new board members an opportunity to hear from existing board members and introduce. So Henry Huang, if it's okay, I'd like to start with you. And you'll need to unmute.
Thank you. Hi, yes, thank you. My name is Henry Huang. I am an attorney and also CPA and realtor in town. And I own properties in 4 of the 8 historical districts. And originally I am from Chicago, and I moved here to Santa Rosa about 15 years ago. And right before moving here, I lived in Hong Kong and Shanghai for 3 years. And what made me interested in the Cultural Heritage Board is I grew up in Oak Park, which is kind of famous for Frank Lloyd Wright. And so from a very young age, I've been exposed to historical architecture and the preservation of it. So I would like to contribute to this community, hopefully with, based on my interest in, preserving old buildings. Anything, do you have any other questions, Chairman?
No, thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
And I promise I will try to pronounce your last name correctly next time. I apologize. And Maria, let's go with you. Maria Pratzelis.
Oh, it's a hard one. Pratzelis. So yeah, my name is Maria Pratzelis, and I actually grew up in the West End neighborhood. If you know that neighborhood well, I grew up on 705 Madison Street. There's two enormous palm trees that you can see from all over the neighborhood, and I planted them when I was 2 for a Mother's Day present. Apparently they cause a lot of problems as things drop from them now, so I feel bad about that. Both my parents actually were historical archaeologists. They did a lot of work in Sonoma County and in Northern California. So I kind of grew up immersed in that world. And then as I was, ready to start a career, I kind of followed in their footsteps a bit and went into archives. I have a graduate degree in history, and I have been a professional archivist for 18 years now. I work mostly in digital archives. So I've done work in academic institutions, business archives, nonprofits, NGOs, and I currently work for the University of California, Office of the President. So we do kind of system-wide library work around data practices. So, obviously historic preservation is kind of in my bones. It's always been my passion. But I also have a sort of flip side balance to that is that, a lot of my friends who grew up here are having a hard time affording housing. And so I think affordable housing is really crucial to continue to really develop our wonderful city. So I think balancing those two interests and is really important. So I bring that to this group. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Kathy Garrett, we're going to put you on the spot next.
You're muted, Cappy.
Sorry, I'm Kathy Garrett, and I know almost all of you, except for the new board member, Pratzelis. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Henry. And hi, fellow board members from the past. I've been on and off the Cultural Heritage Board for a number of years. This is I think my 4th term. And I sort of got my arm twisted to come back on. But I've been involved in cultural heritage for, I don't know, a very long time. I helped write a book about the historic buildings of San Francisco many, many years ago. And when we moved to Santa Rosa in 1974, I immediately got involved in trying to save the downtown of Santa Rosa, and was involved in, I don't know, probably 20 committees, either by the city or independent committees to save various buildings and various historical districts. I lived in the McDonald district for a very long time. I still do. I'm no longer in an historic home, but I'm still in the neighborhood. And I really care. I care about all the neighborhoods in Santa Rosa. They're all really, the old neighborhoods, the historic neighborhoods are really important to the fabric of our community and to tourism, to so much of what Santa Rosa has to offer today. And if we lose these, we will never get them back. And so I think I appreciate the time that everyone on this board is giving to help protect and save those historic districts intact, and to try and make the historic districts work with current projects that need to be accomplished. My background is in interior architecture and design, which I did for, I think, 40 years. I grew up in San Francisco in an historic home. And so that's it. And thank you all for being here. Thanks, Chair Muser.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my mouse here. But, thank you, Kathy. And Bonnie Boren.
Thank you.
Okay.
I grew up back east in Rhode Island and New Jersey, and always had kind of a really strong interest in historic buildings and homes. So I grew up with that. Thought about going to architecture school, but ended up going to art school, both undergraduate and graduate. Moved to New York City. And the art teacher, and one of the things in my curriculum was to take my kids on walking tours of their neighborhood, particularly in Harlem, which has some incredible historic buildings. And moved to San Francisco in '78. A completely different set of architectural standards, but interesting nonetheless. Been living in Santa Rosa for 25 years. And my interest in, as Kathy said, in the neighborhoods has developed over those years. So I'm very excited about joining this board and working to help preserve and also develop, when necessary, what we have in Santa Rosa.
Thank you, Board Member Boren. Board Member Fennell.
Hi, my name is Laura Fennell, and I this is my second term. I'm Chris Rogers' representative on the board, and I previously served as vice chair. And I love these historic districts. I live in the Burbank Gardens, and I'm a real estate broker, and I see the changes that are happening in our neighborhoods and the lack of knowledge that's given to people in real estate with regards to the rules and regulations and the responsibilities that come with these historic properties, and also doing our best to protect them. People pay more money for these homes, and they come with responsibilities, and they also should come with some of the protections that we haven't seen as much of in the last few years with new development and infill. So that's about it.
Thank you, Board Member Fennell. Recording Secretary, was Stephen Gale, was he available, or do we know anything?
We have not been able to get a hold of him at this time, and he is not in the meeting right now.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. I'm Brian Muser. I'm currently the chair of the Cultural Heritage Board. This is my first term. I was appointed by Tom Schweithelm, and I actually served on the Cultural Heritage Board probably, boy, it was probably 20 years ago for a time. So it's kind of my second round. My interest is primarily in residential historic structures. I've restored a Queen Anne Victorian in the Cherry Street Historic District, also a bungalow in the Cherry Street Historic District, and currently restoring a Craftsman bungalow in the Burbank Gardens District. So I've personally been through the landmark alteration process, all the city permitting process, all the steps that we often, ask our applicants to go through. So having kind of that background, I think really really helps. If nothing else, it gives me some empathy for some of the applicants. I do have a real interest in historic architecture and primarily in residential. And so for those reasons, I asked to be able to serve on the Cultural Heritage Board as well. So that's about all I have. So I think did I catch everybody? Make sure that's present. I want to take a moment before we move on. Recording Secretary is past board member Mark DeBacher. Is he with us?
Yes. One moment. If you don't mind, can we take a quick recess?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And board members who are new, when we go into a recess, you're welcome to please turn off your cameras. We're going to put up a slide that says we're going into a recess, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
And if I can just chime in, Mike, or do you want 10 minutes? Would that be sufficient?
Oh, no, go ahead. If you have to.
No, how long for the recess?
Oh, sorry. 5 minutes would be fine.
5 minutes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Muser. Staff is ready when you are.
Okay, if we get cameras turned back on. And then, okay.
Board Member Garrett is back with us, just so you're aware. And I've updated the minutes to reflect that.
And so I see our previous board member, Mark DeBacher, is he available, and is it possible to turn his video on?
Yes, he's being promoted. One moment.
Okay, Mark. Yeah, there you are. Okay, good.
There he is. Mark, I just wanted to take a minute, and I know a lot of your fellow board members aren't here with us anymore, but some of them are, and I just wanted to acknowledge, and if I have it right, 12 years of service on the Cultural Heritage Board. Is that correct? Oh, I think you're muted, Mark. Can we unmute Mark?
You're now unmuted, Mark.
There we go. Is that better?
There he is. Okay.
I had my mic turned all the way off.
Okay. Is 12 years correct, Mark?
Is 12 years, Mark? Yes, it is. I'm pretty sure that it's 12. It's been 3 terms.
Wow.
So it's been a good long run.
I want to acknowledge that tremendous service to the Cultural Heritage Board, and I know when I started my first meeting, you pulled me off to the side and you gave me some great advice. You gave me some great information of literature that I should get. I'll have you know I have all those books that you recommended, and I'm hoping that I can kind of follow in your footsteps and keep holding the torch for preserving our neighborhoods. You've definitely been the torch bearer for that.
Well, thank you very much, Chair Moser. I really appreciate your efforts on this as well. I formed some with the past 4 board members. I'm going to miss the regular meetings that we have done together over all those years. Cappy, it's been a long time with Cappy, and very much appreciated working with her. Much of the great support we've had from staff all these years. So to board members, if you've got questions, please go ahead and take them to staff. They're there to support you. They do a job. Very much encourage the new board members to take a look at those guidelines that have been made available to you. Make sure you understand what they're trying to say, as well as the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. They're a very good tool to use when these projects come forward to you, and they will help you make the decision will serve our community. So again, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time on the board. Please look out for our neighborhoods. There's a lot of pressure. It started out 12 years ago with mostly minor modifications to residences in historic districts, and we had major battles with preserving historic windows, and now you're seeing more and more of the large infill in historic districts. So I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you again. Do any other board members like to speak to Mark? They can raise hand. Cappy?
I'd just like to say, Mark, you've been invaluable on the board and invaluable to the city, and you will be sorely, sorely missed. And I hope you don't mind, I will continue phoning you for advice and information in the future, even if you think you can escape in that beautiful vehicle you're in. Miss you.
Any other comments, Mark?
I've got a few. Oh, Board Member Fennell, please go ahead. No?
Unmute.
I absolutely love Mark. Thank you so much for everything. You've been there for me for my first meeting, and I too will feel free to contact you in the future as I have in the past. Thank you for everything.
And Deputy Director Rose.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Mark, thank you so much for your service. It's been a pleasure working with you. You've been a cornerstone to this board. I think it's safe to say that many of your past board members that you've worked with have really deferred to you. You're truly an expert, but I think more importantly, you're passionate about what you do. And so it shows, and we've had the pleasure to work on projects as well, and I felt the same thing. So, and Cappy, forgive me, I'm going to disclose just a little something. I know you said your arm was twisted, and it was. I might have been part of that arm twisting, I think. And I think part of the deal was that you were interested in coming back as long as Mark was still here. And I think the two of you have been a wonderful team. So thank you as well. But Mark, best of luck, and I hope you stay in touch with us as well.
And Liaison Susie Murray would like to.
Yep, I'd like to chime in as well. So Mark, I have worked with you both as the board liaison and as a planner. And I'd like to thank you for the education that you've given me. Sometimes it might have been a little rough lesson, but I got it. In fact, I'll tell you, I have a Craftsman knockoff house that was built in 1992, and one by one, I've gone around and replaced all of my aluminum or vinyl windows, whatever they were, with wood. So that is your influence. I'm going to put a sign out there and say, Mark was here. Anyways, thank you very much for your time on the board. It's so appreciated.
Yeah, and Mark, you need to come by my house sometime and see my lit address sign, leaded glass in the post too. So anyway. Okay, well, thank you again, and we'll continue on unless anybody else has anything to say. Okay, I believe our next item of business is we need to select a vice chair for the Cultural Heritage Board. So at this time, I'd like to open up nominations from anyone for the position of vice chair, and it's actually the way it works best. If you have an interest in being vice chair, feel free to speak up, because it might make the process work a little bit better. So if you're interested in being vice chair, or if you'd like to nominate someone to be vice chair, let's hear from you now.
And maybe Chair Muser, if I might just describe the role of the vice chair. It's essentially, it's to step in when the chair is either absent or must recuse him or herself. And so largely it's an administrative function. It's making sure we stay on track with the agenda. It's interacting with the liaison ahead of time to make sure there's no surprises. So it's mostly that. We definitely need a vice chair because there are occasions where the chair will not be available, and we need somebody in that function. So Chair Muser's done a wonderful job. For those of you that have been on the board for a while, I think you would agree with that. And for those of you that are new, I think you're seeing it here tonight as he's conducting a great meeting. So that's largely the role of the vice chair, is to step in when needed.
Yeah, and oftentimes too, what will happen is, in the case of like tonight, if one of us has to refute ourselves from an item, then the vice chair will run the meeting. And then if the chair and the vice chair have to refute themselves, then staff will select someone to chair the meeting. So that can happen too, especially since a lot of us live in historic neighborhoods where a lot of our items come from. So nominations or interest? Cappy.
I ordinarily would be interested in doing this, but right now I'm having health issues and I have to be down at Stanford to see the doctor I'm seeing on Wednesdays. It's kind of rare that I'm even here for this meeting. And I know that I'm scheduled out through June at least. And until they figure out what's wrong with me, I'm probably not going to be available very often. So anyway, I'm taking my name out of but that's my reason.
I would be happy to serve as vice chair again. I know that Chair Muser and I live in the same district, and that can be difficult, but it sounds like there's a lot of people in historic districts that are going to have issues. But I will acquiesce if there's someone else.
I would second Laura staying on as vice chair. She did a great job.
Okay, so we have a nomination by Board Member Garrett for Board Member Fennell for the position of vice chair. Do we have any other nominations or interest? Okay, recording secretary, if you can help me out with this. So at this point, I'd like to close nominations for vice chair, and we have a single nomination of Board Member Fennell. Do we need to take a vote?
Sure. Can you please restate the mover and seconder?
Okay, yeah, you're right. We didn't get a second. We have the nomination Board Member Garrett. Do we have a second? Looks like Board Member Boren is seconding the nomination.
I will second. I also will say that I don't live in a historic neighborhood. So if there's ever, once I get the hang of this, if there's ever a need, I would certainly step in.
Okay, so we have a nomination and a second. Seeing no further nominations, I'll close the nomination for vice chair. And are we ready to take a vote?
Sounds good. Thank you, Chair Muser. So typically with all of our votes for our new members, we go in alphabetical order, followed by the vice chair and chair. In this case, I will start with Commissioner Boren. And when we call your name, if you can unmute yourself and say yay or nay.
Yay.
Thank you. Board Member Fennell.
Yay.
Board Member Gale is absent. Board Member Garrett.
Yay.
Board Member Huang.
Yay.
Board Member Pretzelis.
Yay.
And Chair Muser.
Yay. Okay, congratulations, Laura. You're at it again. So
now we all get to say, yay.
Yay.
Different emphasis. Congratulations, Vice Chair Fennell.
Okay, and I know that a lot of us are new to the board, but at this time I'd like to open up board member reports. Do any board members have any reports they'd like to make? Okay, seeing no hands, seeing none, I'll close board member reports. Department reports. Liaison Murray.
I have a couple, actually. The first thing I want to mention is that there will be a meeting on June 2nd. So go ahead and mark your calendars accordingly. Well, the good news is I'm getting texts, but the bad news is everybody can hear them. So we will have a meeting on June 2nd. As far as I know, that meeting will begin at 2:30, our regular start time. We have the council chambers reserved and we are etched in stone there. I also want to let you know that we are working on a few training sessions. Hopefully, the first one will be on June 2nd. If not, it will be on the next agenda. And that meeting that training is very important. It's the Brown Act, where we'll talk about conflicts of interest and what have you. So it can be a dry subject, but an important one for all board members. We're also working on a training for the downtown station area plan, which has come before all the boards before, but they are, this time it'll be really focused more on how that plan affects the Cultural Heritage Board and some considerations for you guys. So staff is busily working on that. We're hoping for either late June or early July for that. And stay tuned. It'll be on the agenda as soon as we have that date and the materials ready. So, and then, I think that's it for me. You know what? I do want to say thank you all for being on the board, though. Welcome to all of our new members. I apologize for the confusion with the meeting today. We had a conflict with the City Council chambers and the City Council meeting. So I very much appreciate your flexibility and you're willing to serve. And I'm looking forward to the time over the next couple of years. And Cappy, I was one of the people that also twisted your arm. I know that, and I've pleaded with you to stay on the board as well. So thank you. Brian, I couldn't do it without you. So thanks all, and congratulations, Laura. And I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I also want to congratulate all the new members and just looking at our board, what a group of talented people that we have. So I'm just really looking forward to having some very productive and successful meetings in the future. Okay, so, and recording secretary, if you can help me, item 7.1 coming up, it's my understanding that that has been pulled, that's going to come to us at a later date. Am I correct?
If we can move to item 6 first, statements of abstention.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the statements of abstention were for just item 7.2, since 7.1 it isn't going to be before us tonight. Am I correct with that?
Chair Muser, I think the opportunity, item 6 with statements of abstention, that anybody should go around the board and ask who needs to abstain from what projects.
Okay, I can do that. So under statements of abstention, basically, if you feel that you have a conflict with an item that's coming before us today, if you could basically tell us you have a conflict and give us the reason why you have that conflict. So Laura, I'm going to start with you since you've been down this road before.
Yes, 7.2 on today's agenda is within close proximity to my house. So 7.2 is something that I may have to be exempt from, depending upon whether we need to have me in per Susie Murray.
So we'll go ahead and finish the statements of abstention, and then I'll address that comment.
Okay. Henry Huang.
Yes, I also need to abstain from 7.2 as well, because I own property that is within 500 feet of 659 Pine Street.
Thank you, Member Wong. And Board Member Pratzelis. Am I saying that right?
Close enough. Sorry about it. I don't need to abstain from anything.
Board Member Garrett.
I don't need to abstain either.
And Board Member Boren.
I also don't need to abstain.
Okay, and Board Member Gale is not with us. Correct. So I need to abstain from both 7.1 and 7.2. I live kind of right in the middle of the district, so I'm within 500 feet of both of them. And also 7.1, the owner of that property is my Cal Green inspector on my project that I have. So I won't be able to participate in either of these items. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Liaison Murray to give us direction, what we need to do.
So I think, Chair Muser, I think it's time for you to leave the meeting because we're going to be moving into the public hearings. Let's see. The statement of abstentions. For item, let me explain something first. For item 7.2, where there are not enough members to reach a quorum due to conflicts of interest, the FPPC or the Fair Political Practices Act and state law provide that a board member with a conflict of interest may participate in an item if his or her participation is determined to be legally required. This is known as the rule of necessity and allows the board to reach a quorum by random means of selection. The city's selection process is to have the recording secretary place the names of those conflicted board members into a hat and select a random name. Unfortunately, today, because we don't have a board member Gail with us, we will not be able to do that process. So 7.2, we will have to continue that item unless board member Gail does join in the next few minutes. And yeah, we'll have to continue that to a date certain, June 2nd, and this item will be added to the next agenda. As far as item 7.1, we've also requested, we have received a request from the applicant for a continuance to a date uncertain. Because of that item will have to be renoticed before it comes back to the board. So it looks like both of our public hearing items will be continued. Both of our public hearing items will be continued, but I want to say that we had a very successful meeting in that we did get our vice chair elected.
Okay, well, That's unfortunate. I know the applicant has been bumped down. The can's been kicked down the road because of lack of quorum for quite a while. I do feel for the applicant, and I apologize to the applicant. I'm hoping that we will have a quorum at our June meeting, first part of June. So with that, I don't believe we have any other.
Brian, or Chair Muser, can I interrupt again?
Sure.
I'm actually going to ask you to leave the meeting now, and I'm going to ask Vice Chair Fennell to take over. We need to do a formal vote on item 7.1, and you have recused yourself. So I think from this point on, she can take over there. And Vice Chair Fennell, I'll help coach. I'll coach you through as much as I can on this. I think once Chair Muser leaves, we'll go ahead and have that vote. Call for the vote.
Okay, we'll do. Well, thank you all. We'll see you at the next one.
Bye-bye.
So
okay.
We need to go
Yes.
ahead and just, we'll need to take a formal vote. You can go ahead and call the vote, and Mr. Maloney will take care of that.
Okay, so I'm calling for a vote on tabling.
1 second, if we can do a point of order. We first need to call 7 and 7.1.
Okay.
And then you can go ahead and do a
okay.
vote. Continue.
So 7.1 is a public hearing on the Turi Garage Replacement Landmark Alteration 664 Charles Street, LMA 20-013, continued from April 7th, 2021. And do you want me to read the background?
No, that's not necessary. I think what you do now, Vice Chair Fennell, is just simply ask for a motion, a second, a vote on the continuance to a date uncertain. And then as stated, I'll read it for the record. This will be needing a new public notice and do that accordingly.
Okay, so we're going to be taking a vote on sending item 7.1 to a future date uncertain, and they're going to re-notification of neighbors. So I need a second.
Well, you need
first,
a motion.
I need a motion
and a second.
I need a motion and a second. Any motions?
I so move.
Perfect. We need a
Seconded.
perfect.
And Vice Chair Fennell, sorry, you're muted. If you can repeat the motion in the second, and then
okay, so we have a motion for the item 7.1 public hearing on the Turi Garage replacement to a date uncertain with new public notification. Motion by Kathy Garrett and seconded by board member Pretzelis. All right.
Thank you. With that, we will go in alphabetical order again, starting with board member Boren.
Aye.
Board member Gale being absent. Board member Garrett.
Aye.
Board member Huang.
Aye.
Board member Pretzelis.
Aye.
And the chair Muser recusing himself, going to Vice Chair Fennell.
Aye.
So that item did pass. Continue.
Okay.
Date uncertain. Thank you.
Anything else, Susie?
I think I'm going to ask for some assistance on this from Mr. Rose.
Well, I think we can state just simply for the record that we do not have a quorum, so we really don't have an agenda item at this point. So it will be continued just as it has in the past now. It'll be continued to the next scheduled meeting, regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, and we don't need to vote on that because it's no reason to.
Yeah, there's technically no board.
There's no board for that.
When you don't have a quorum, you can't act as a board. Okay. We just are stating for the record, it will be continued to the next regularly scheduled meeting. And do we have
Perfect.
a date on that, Susie?
Excuse me?
Do you have a date for the next regularly scheduled meeting?
The date is June 2nd.
June 2nd. So this will be continued to June 2nd.
Perfect.
And then Laura, you can go ahead. I'm sorry. Vice Chair Fennell, it's difficult, isn't that? Vice Chair Fennell, you can go ahead and adjourn the meeting anytime. But you need to turn your mic on.
Congratulations to you all on completing your first meeting with the Cultural Heritage Board, and we are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.